These are this afternoon's top stories. Acting Police Commissioner Libert calls for community cooperation. Venezuela's Maduro visits St. Lucia, and Germany's Chancellor holds refugee talks in Turkey. Good afternoon and welcome to the ZIZ Midday Newscast. Today is Tuesday, October 20th. 2015. I am JD Keynes. We begin with news on the local scene. St. Kitts and Nevis's top cop, Stafford Libert, used Monday afternoon's police press conference to caution the general public about making premature judgments in the ongoing investigation surrounding Saturday's fatal shooting of 17-year-old Philo Wallace.
And my appeal that I'm asking for is the community of Hamilton and the surrounding area and the entire public in Nevis. Let us not be too judgmental. Let us weigh the facts. And I do ask that the public do share the information with us. Anyone who has any information will be very helpful to us, the police.
Wallace was an aspiring cricketer who represented Nevis on many occasions. His death has sent shockwaves through the Nevisian community. In related news, members of the community are calling for a thorough investigation into the shooting death of Philo Wallace. During an exclusive interview with ZIZ News, former press secretary to the Nevis Island Administration, now entrepreneur Mervyn Hanley, says the local police need to excuse themselves from the investigation.
There needs to be an independent investigation, and I think that's one way of the community having some kind of confidence and faith in the Royal St. Kitts and Nevis police force. There needs to be an independent investigation and not police officers investigating a police officer. I do not think that the community is comfortable with that.
In more local news, with this year's National Carnival Queen contestants already launched, Executive Director of Nevis's Culturama Secretariat, Antonio Libert, says he is thrilled that Nevis will be well represented during this year's National Carnival events. Our camera crew caught up with Libert on Monday afternoon while in Nevis for another event. It was then that he revealed that Nevisians would be entering the Mr. GQ and National Carnival Swimwear contests and the National Carnival Calypso and Soca Mona contests.
And we over here in Nevis, especially from the Culturama Secretariat, are delighted to know that our participants and past winners could be afforded that opportunity to go over to St. Kitts and compete in the various competitions that will be held as part of Sugar Mass 44.
ZIZ News understands that troops from Culturama will also be part of the Carnival Street Parade. We'll take a break and be right back.
I like flavorful, but not really spicy.
For me, a big priority is obviously healthy.
Kind of frou-frou foods to the international chef.
You know, I knew he would just come today. I knew today the gardener would show up. Exactly when I'm under a lot of pressure.
We have come to a final decision.
Welcome back. Now to news on the regional scene. Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro has called for the creation of a high-level commission between St. Lucia and his country. He says that body will spearhead events for the 2017 commemoration of the bicentennial of the martyrdom of Caribbean and Latin America patriot Jean-Baptiste Bedeau. HTS News Force has more.
After meeting with St. Lucia's Governor General, Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro held bilateral talks with Prime Minister and Minister for Finance Dr. Kenny Anthony at the Prime Minister's official residence at Fiji. The Venezuelan president also met with workers of the National Initiative to Create Employment, NICE. NICE is getting a boost from the Venezuela-led ALBA initiative. It was in December 2014 that the Prime Minister announced that ALBA would be extending grant financing for the program to the tune of $10 million over 2 years. Maduro told members of the press that his meeting with Prime Minister Anthony was productive.
En privado hemos conversado el primer ministro Kenny Anthony y nuestros equipos para consolidar y ampliar todos los proyectos que ya han sido exitosos.
In private, we have discussed with our good friend, the Prime Minister Kenny Anthony, the need to consolidate and expand even further all the projects that so far have been so successful.
En lo social, priorizar la educación, nuestros niños. En lo cultural, priorizar las comunidades y la juventud.
In the social area, we need to give priority to education to our children. In the cultural area, the communities, the young people, and they work with them.
Y vamos a configurar también un equipo económico para ver el perfil de inversiones, de aumento del comercio y de trabajo compartido para el desarrollo económico de nuestros dos países y el desarrollo económico de la zona petrocaribe que estamos haciendo entre todos.
We need now to create an economic team whose task will be to further investments in and trade in the area in order to foster the economies of the two countries and in the zone of Petrocaribbean.
Maduro pledged continued support for the unity of Latin America and the Caribbean. He said the Caribbean should have a new productive economy and should become a zone for economic investment.
En todos estos años,
In all these years,
con Petrocaribe,
with Petrocaribbean,
con la Misión Milagro,
with Miracle Mission,
con el Banco del Alba,
with the Alba Bank,
con el financiamiento para el desarrollo,
with the financing for development,
con esta hermosura del sistema de orquestas juveniles e infantiles,
with this beautiful project of the youth orchestra of the Sistema.
estamos construyendo una red humana de proyectos económicos, sociales, culturales, educativos.
We are building this human network of projects in the field of the economy, social, cultural, and health projects.
This was Maduro's first visit to St. Lucia and is part of a larger tour of Caribbean countries that included St. Kitts and Nevis and Dominica. On Friday, he visited Antigua and Barbuda and toured the Mount St. John's Medical Center, where he spoke about the Venezuelan eye care program's contribution to a national effort to tackle blindness. He also announced plans to build the Simon Bolivar Resort on the island. It will be jointly owned by the governments. He also pledged. In St. Kitts and Nevis, he pledged $250,000 to establish an eye care center at the country's general hospital. Alison Kentish, HTS News.
Continuing on the regional front, the Georgetown Municipality and Guyana's Ministry of Tourism are collaborating to keep the city clean. Capital News has more.
Tourism Minister Cathy Hughes, who headed the team that met with City Mayor Hamilton Green, spoke of the need for the council and her ministry to collaborate. On the agenda of Monday's meeting was City Hall's ability to upkeep the ongoing cleanup efforts while policing and ensuring enforcement of those guilty of defacing the city.
A very, very important part of the work that we want to do will depend on working in partnership. And we can't overemphasize the importance of our seat of government, the capital city, and of course a tremendous advantage we have that we want to explore as we expand our tourism product.
The Tourism Ministry's Director General Donald Sinclair said the image of the city must be changed because it is the heart of the country linking to other tourist attractions.
Whatever we say about the importance of ecotourism, the importance of nature-based tourism, Georgetown is critical to the image of Guyana as a tourism destination. Too often we hear, oh, this place has some fantastic attractions, but the city, this and that. So we want to move to the point where that but, it will not be, but the city is dirty or but the city needs cleaning. Say, it's a fantastic place and the Georgetown is a very charming place.
Mayor Green said while City Hall is working to recapture the true beauty of Georgetown, there needs to be a shift in the attitude of some citizens.
People have grown accustomed to being dirty, careless, and insensitive to the environment. This has got to start in schools. We have to correct over 2 decades of nonsense and people who did not appreciate the significance of the capital city.
According to the mayor, it is the hope of City Hall to ensure by next year, May, when Guyana celebrates 50 years, to have Georgetown restored as the Garden City. The Tourism Ministry is also looking to make over the avenue on Camp Street with assistance of City Hall, as the plan will soon be presented to businesses in that area.
Internationally, Germany's leader has been in Turkey trying to get help stopping the flow of refugees to the European Union. In return, Angela Merkel is offering Turkey help in its bid to join the EU.
Germany's Chancellor Angela Merkel is in Istanbul looking for help. She's asking the Turkish government to stem the flow of refugees who are coming to Europe.
I think we have used the crisis we are experiencing through a very disorderly and uncontrolled movement of refugees to again achieve closer cooperation on many issues, both between the European Union and Turkey and between Germany and Turkey.
Specifically, the EU wants Turkey to increase Coast Guard patrols and give Syrians work permits. In return, Turkey's being offered more than $3 billion and a revival of EU membership talks. But both are difficult demands for Turkey to fulfill. It has more than 2,500 kilometres of coastline along the Aegean and strong domestic opposition to allowing Syrians to work. So far, there's been no commitment from Turkey on either of these issues.
Unfortunately, Turkey was left alone by the international community in terms of burden sharing. We are very pleased there is a better approach now. The issue of sharing going forward is very important.
Davutoglu also said that if Turks are given visa-free access to the EU, then Turkey will take back failed asylum seekers from Europe. Both leaders did agree that only a resolution to the conflict in Syria would resolve the refugee crisis. Turkey still wants a safe zone in northern Syria, but that seems more unlikely than ever before with Russia's increased involvement in Syria's civil war. Bernard Smith, Al Jazeera, Istanbul.
Thousands of migrants continue to wait along the muddy border between Serbia and Croatia. Julie Nose reports.
Sheer exhaustion. Children and their families spend another day along the muddy border between Serbia and Croatia. Cold, hungry, some without shoes, migrants here are awaiting word on where they'll be allowed to go next. With some Balkan countries closing their borders and others imposing limits on how many people can come in, a backlog is forming.
But of course, with what happened, Hungary closing the border with Croatia, and then some, constraints about numbers, has led to this place becoming more of a bottleneck, as we call it. So, meaning that people are stranded here because it's a limited number of people who are allowed in, and that is something new, and it's to do with the closure of borders elsewhere.
Already having traveled a long journey from Syria or elsewhere in the Middle East, thousands of new migrants are arriving daily, but aren't being allowed to continue to Germany or other EU countries. Frustrations are rising, scuffles break out after waiting for hours in the cold. Some try to keep their sense of humor.
But you know, it's a big problem here, about 6,000 people. It's not your fault, it's our fault. We're bad people.
The EU has agreed to share 120,000 migrants among its members, a small portion of the some 700,000 expected to reach Europe's borders this year.
Taking a look at the weather, temperatures for today will peak at 27 degrees Celsius or 80 degrees Fahrenheit. Winds are east-southeast at 5 to 12 miles per hour, becoming lighter and variable at times. Seas are slight, with swells not exceeding 1 to 2 meters or 4 feet. In the weather summary, we can expect partly sunny skies with an increase in cloudiness with possible isolated downpours during the afternoon. Some of the downpours could be moderate to locally heavy at times. Later tonight, we can expect fair to partly cloudy conditions in general, with a slight chance of a brief passing late-night shower. Sunset for today will be at 5:46 p.m. and sunrise for tomorrow will be at 6:05 a.m. That brings us to the end of the ZIZ Midday Newscast. Join us this evening for these stories and more in detail. I have been your presenter, JD Keynes. Have a great afternoon.